Let's look at Fender. Fender has a parking agreement when it was built with Rexco. That was built a long time ago.
This water's too deep for me. I can't even swim in this. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, I'm telling you, you made a comment about it, and I'm going to respond.
Okay.
That parking agreement has shown to be inadequate. I was at an event today, and they ran out of parking because if you're having a daytime event with the reciprocated parking with Fender, with the business offices, I had to park on the street. And you know, as Lobster Fest, they have to park across the street. They have to park in Metrolink. I mean, you've got the same issues on other events. And the Fender building has on a regular basis overflow that has to go to public property, which is Metrolink now, or across to the parking lot. So that's another place. You have schools. I mean, CFIS doesn't even have a parking lot. Period. So all parking is on the streets for all the teachers and administrators. They have no parking lot. So when we're talking about this, let's look at the whole picture, not single out one building.
I don't mind looking at the whole picture. I simply want people to understand.
No,
I want both the people here from the mosque and the people, the citizens that are worried about the traffic, safety, and parking issues to understand that there can be some kind of amelioration. There has to be something that can be done to make this better.
Okay, well, I'm just pointing out that we have some issues.
I got more issues than a magazine, Karen, okay?
No. In all fairness, I think we need to put those out there. Schools are really, you mentioned the incident at Centennial High School, because they don't have adequate parking, particularly on Friday Night Football. We park in other business lots that are closed. People jaywalk across the street, and somebody got killed. So
we just want to be proactive.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, how do you fix that? I can't tell the school district to fix this. I can't tell CFIS to, there's some things we just can't fix that have been occurring. St. Edward's, they park in the post office, they park all around, because the good thing is they've grown, and there's a lot of there's members, and there's good attendance. We have a foundation in our community that has lots of churches. That's a positive thing. The problem is when they build them, like Virginia had pointed out to me, is that the church was built in the 60s, and you don't project that far out. And that's true. And we're going to have things in 20, 30 years from now that we've done a good job, and sometimes we did a bad job in predicting.
That's why I said there appears to me to be some kind of process failure on this, in that it's obvious there was huge growth, and no one stopped and said,
I want to continue, because I want it known is it's not just the mosque, and I feel that it's been singled out, and that's my issue.
No, it's not just the mosque, and let me make that clear. That's what I thought I made clear in here. It's not just the mosque, but tonight I'm speaking about the mosque and the parking and the safety and the traffic. That's what I have been involved in. I've been hearing about from local citizens and on the citizens' Facebook page. That's the one. We can go to other ones. I can come back. Every meeting, we can have another one on every one you're talking about. You're correct. Right. It should be understood that that's that. I'm not singling out the mosque.
I'm making these points because we look for ways we can mitigate this.
Yes.
I mean, the best thing is when, like, using the public property, is when people collaborate and we try and meet everybody's needs, we better serve. And when you have the reciprocated public property, which Joanne's going to get to clarify, because there was some misinformation given. No matter how many times I tried to correct it, it was not properly handled. As you well know, people go on their little hiatus, and I don't respond to it anymore.
That might be one of the things that Don Fuller was talking about tonight when he said, can we just have open mic night? And I thought to myself, I'm on Citizens for Corona, and you can't have open mic night. You'll have a knife fight.
I totally agree. Is Don still here? Yeah, we'll talk afterwards about that.
Okay, Joanne is going to explain to me all the things that I am.
Wait a minute, I just want to make sure I have everything. So just my ending comment is, as I'm pointing out, is that when they're talking about traffic at the churches, and I'm sure it's going to be addressed because there's a ton of speakers, we start looking at this, we're going to have to look at all the churches. I mean, I avoid many churches on Sunday mornings. I avoid schools And I have to go by CFIS every day, and it seems to be right around morning time or afternoon time in every other elementary school. And you want to talk about craziness. And we have officers there on a regular basis. That is talking about unsafe situations. So it's not singled out. And that's what I want to keep saying, is that there seems to be...
And I keep responding. I'm not singling it out. I am responding to a number of citizen comments. I am responding to local people who have gotten in touch with me. That's all I'm doing, okay? And I thought I made clear how amenable and how cooperative the mosque is. I have no issue with the mosque. I think it's growing. And so I look to the future to say, let's try to find a way to make this better. Let's get the crosswalk built. That's been since 2009. I thought the permit wasn't even allowed. I thought they weren't permitted to build until the crosswalk was built. But a lot of things happen, Stuff happens.
Well, we're going to have... Okay. Is Mary done with Jean? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Joanne going to fix me
Joanne's
here?
going to now clarify. We have the square footage, we have the attendance, we have the crosswalk, and anything else you want to share. Jean, I think we're done.
Okay. Oh! No,
I didn't want to have another
No, I
conversation.
may never leave now. We're done? Okay,
I was
Karen,
meaning in the
we're
sense...
done.
It's not what I meant. Can you do some clarifying facts, and then we'll figure out where we have to go from here as far as finding more information out for Jean?
Yes. And I just want to preface some things. This permit was amended. It was originally approved in 2000. And what we do with churches, and this is very consistent with what we do with all religious organizations here in the city, when they come to us with a plan, it is very rarely that we have a church that is ready to build what they want to build at the onset. It is a phased process, and it takes many years, and that is because of the money that it takes to build these congregations. Most of the churches that we work on are phased. We start with phase 1. Some have 6 phases, some have 3, some has 2. When the Islamic Society came to us, they had a 2-phased program. What you see out there today is only phase 1, and that is what you see is their multi-purpose room. This is their interim prayer facility. What you see them building is what they always planned for in phase 2, and that was looked at originally in 2001. When you talk about the prayer area was the smaller area, and that is that multi-purpose area. Where they're currently having their prayer services is only within an area that is 2,745 square feet. However, their entire campus, when we looked at build out in 2001, when they were going to build phase 2, it was 32,250 square feet. That included when they actually built the actual mosque, in addition to the classrooms that they anticipated. Once they built phase 1, it was almost 10 years later, they came back to us and said, you know what? Looking at our organization and our growth, we want to make some changes to phase 2. That's when they came back to us and we did the modification. So the modification strictly dealt with phase 2. At that time, the square footage for the entire campus, once again, you're dealing with the entire campus with schools and so forth. It was 43,470. However, the prayer area was only 3,450. When we look at parking for churches, we only park it based on their assembly for prayer. We do that for Crossroads, South Hills, Inland Vineyard, all of them. And that is because when you are doing prayer service, it is opposite of any other activity that is going on that property. When you have children in school, you are not having prayer service. When you have administrative offices going on during the day, you do not have prayer services. Churches have always been parked at the most stringent ratio, which is that assembly. This is the same way the mosque was parked. The mosque does not have fixed seating. Our code allows us to allow parking based on 1 parking space for every 25 square feet of assembly area. That is where we come up with that number. I heard a lot tonight, and I just want to, this is where I'm getting the confusion, and I don't know if this is the confusion of the public. A traffic analysis has nothing to do with parking. A traffic analysis does not determine how many parking spaces are going to be provided on a piece of property. It is the building square footage that is going to determine the number of parking spaces. If it's a school, it's going to be the number of students and the number of employees. If it's a business, it's going to be based on the use of the business and the allowable square footage. Religious institutions are based on fixed seats or worship area. I may give you a good example. I looked at this tonight. Crossroads Church has about 3,500 fixed seats. I did not require Crossroads to put in 3,500 parking stalls. Crossroads was parked at an assembly originally because they didn't know if they were going to have fixed seats. They required 1,000 parking spaces. Eventually, when they did fixed seats, it's one space for every 3.5. They need about 1,400 parking spaces out there, and that's what they have. But in no case are they going to have 3,500 parking spaces for 3,500 seats. That's not how we do it. So it's all based on what we adopted. In terms of occupancy load is determined on the type of construction of the building, areas of exiting, and how many people you can have in a given area of time within that space. The occupant load has been determined for the mosque. You can have 392 people within this multi-purpose room based on their type of construction. Parking has nothing to do with that. That is completely separate, and that has to deal with the building code issue in terms of getting people out safely. So you kind of have to separate all of those, and they're kind of being conglomerated together. That's not how it works. I can never anticipate somebody's membership. I can only do it based on the building that they're giving me and what we've adopted in the code. I also want to state, we have looked at other jurisdictions as this came up. The city of Corona has the most stringent parking regulation when it comes to religious organizations. Other cities use a space of one seat for every 4 fixed seats, one space for every 4 6 seats, or one space for every 40 square feet or 30 square feet. We're one at 25 and one at every 3.5. And this is our surrounding city. So we already have a very stringent ratio as it is. So I don't think we're any more lenient than what you see going on in other local agencies. As for the overall square footage, the religious part has actually been reduced. When it's all said and done, based on the prayer service that will be in this mosque when phase 2 is done, there's a men's prayer area and a female prayer area. It'll be 3,450 square feet. They require 138 parking spaces, and that's exactly what they provide. And again, this impact is only occurring on their main prayer day, which is Friday. This is no different than what we see on Sundays, which is the main prayer day of other religious organizations. This just happens to occur during the week for a couple of hours. So in terms of the processing and whether we, quote, failed, we did not fail. We have followed everything to the letter of the law on this project. I think what you're seeing is the demand has surpassed what they probably ever anticipated, but yet they service a very small, area, and there's not a lot of other organizations for these people to go to. So right now, Corona is the hub, and as they plan to build in other cities, it'll probably disperse out. But in terms of what the city and this staff did, we have not failed in terms of applying the laws accurately.
Can you address the crosswalk?
The crosswalk was required, yes. We did require the mid-block crossing prior to the issuance of a building permit. They came back and they spoke with the Public Works Department, I believe it was over a year ago. And they asked if they can delay that until C of O, which is Certificate of Occupancy. They did post a bond for that crosswalk. It's currently in plan check, and we're going to try to get that up actually before the building is completed, because after seeing what's going on out there, we do realize that it does need to be up prior to Certificate of Occupancy. So that has actually been ongoing with Nelson and his department, and they are close to getting that finalized through the plan check process.
Does anybody have any questions for
Not right now.
Mr.
Yeah,
Herman?
just to kind of add on to what Joanne said, there was this question about, do we check projects after they're completed? And absolutely we do. Our inspectors are out there through the entire course of any type of a project. The conditions of approval are always checked prior to the project ending and prior to the project actually getting its certificate of occupancy. We have our different departments go out there and check to make sure that everything is installed that's supposed to be installed and everything that's supposed to be there is supposed to be there. So yes, we do check everything.
And just for clarification, one more for Jean. The reason I kept saying that is because when I read your initial email and you said including perception of special arrangements, that was my feeling that it was singled out and that there was other arrangements with other facilities that we have worked with and have allowed, as it was addressed with Ontario still hasn't done what they've needed to do. South Hills haven't done what they needed to do, and all the other churches. That was the reason I kept addressing that, is you put that in the writing of saying perception of special arrangements. And I was trying to point out there's special arrangements on many business, many churches, many organizations. And that was very important for me to address that comment in your, so.